Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to 15 Good Minutes. It's your guy, Coach B. As always, I'm here with the A-Team. JR, what is happening, my man?
All good, man. Got the chair set up.
I see you. Look at you rocking the old gaming chair. For those of y'all that don't know, hit us up. Me and Freddie will tell you just how long it took him to build that. Freddie, what's happening?
Hey, man, another day.
Question for you, JR, before we get started. We ended last week. I think you were -1 Christmas shopping. It's Christmas weekend, buddy. You closer? How you looking?
I'm +9. Only got one thing to do.
One thing to do. Okay.
That's it.
That's actually a gain of 10, right, Freddie? I think he was sitting -1. So you're in a good spot. I'm not at 15 like Freddie, but I am at 10, meaning done. And I did go to FedEx, early this week to offload. I don't trust the post office. I'm sorry, y'all. I would rather pay, and they give me a ticket and says, "Oh, ground, this will be there tomorrow. Thank you." I've given stuff to the post office. It's taking months, man. It's
sitting in the back of somebody's car.
Yeah, if that, or sitting in some post office between where you started and where you wanted to go. Neither one of them is a good thing, man. So. But anyway, I'm glad to hear that JR is closer to 10 than he was a week ago. As this is Christmas week, we wanted to do a quick recap on the NFL playoff picture as it stands right now. A lot of interesting things, could happen. So I wanted to talk to the A-Team and say, okay, if the playoffs in the NFL started today, let's start with the AFC, JR. It looks like today, anyway, before this weekend's games, Buffalo is a 1 seed, so they would get a bye. So the 7th today, Miami would play Kansas City. Do you see anything unique in that game if it were to take place today? Can a 7 seed upset a 2 seed?
Not in this game. Yeah, I don't believe in this game. I just,
Freddie, you giving it to KC in that one if it happens like that?
I could see Miami actually beating Kansas City. The only thing, obviously, you have the Tyreek Hill, and it also would depend on where the game is played, right?
Kansas City.
Okay, right. In Kansas City, go to Kansas City, it's probably going to be cold, but I think Miami would have the pieces to actually beat Kansas City. I think they do.
I think they have the pieces, but in that one, I would have to go with JR. At home game, KC, this early in the playoffs anyway, it would be theirs to lose, put it that way. Sticking with you, Freddie. The next one, again, folks, this is if the playoffs were actually happening this weekend. Cincy would be hosting the Chargers. Can the Chargers do anything with Cincinnati or no?
I think I'm a Charger fan, so I think they could. That is that's even if Joey Bosa was healthy and was playing. I think he should be back.
JR, who you got Cincinnati hosting the Chargers?
Cincinnati.
Yeah, I like him too, but for some reason, it probably has nothing to do with the execution. But I think the kid I don't know, he got some type of Joe Namath swag with him. And of the two teams that were in the Super Bowl last year, this one is playing like a team that was in the Super Bowl last year and not the Rams. So I don't see an upset there. The other entry level game that would take place in the AFC over to UJR is Tennessee, who's been falling, would be hosting Baltimore. So Baltimore on the road in Tennessee. Who you got?
Baltimore. If Lamar can get himself together, I don't think Tennessee has a chance.
Neither one of those teams should make the playoffs.
That's a show for a different day.
It's just an ugly brand of football.
Don't get me started on these teams that shouldn't be here. But we haven't even talked about your Tampa Bay yet because we're not in the NFC. So right now, I want to stick with you got Baltimore going to Tennessee. Give me a winner.
I would say Tennessee only because even with Lamar before he got hurt, they were still struggling. I would hate to see either of those teams in the playoffs.
Yes, you made that abundantly clear. I would have to go with Baltimore only because Tennessee's been falling. I always worry about a team that I think is backing into the playoffs. Tennessee was up there in the first half of the season, not so much as of late. But to Freddie's point, when I looked at it this afternoon, for me, my first thought was it's a toss-up. Either one of those teams could win based on a number of things happening. The fact that it's being played in Tennessee geographically won't impact, the Ravens at all. So that'll be interesting. Freddie, I'm going to switch over to the NFC now. And today, Philadelphia would have the bye. So the 7-2 matchup would actually have the Washington Commanders going to Minnesota. And it's funny because earlier this week, there was a game going on. And my wife said, what was it that Freddie said Minnesota is? And I said, Fools go. And she said, okay, Fools go. And she walked away because she watches a lot of football. So here you have the Washington Commanders who gave a game away last week in Minnesota. Somebody's got to win. Give me a winner.
I would go with the Commanders. And I still believe that they're Fools go, and do not take the rat poison that Minnesota is trying to sell everyone. Because we just saw what happened. It was down 33-0 at half. And, it just so happened, the team melted down completely. So in the event that they had to play, I would say Washington because, Washington, their defensive line is getting healthy. And a good defensive line gives Minnesota problems.
JR, can Washington beat?
You know what I'm going to say, man.
Well, not because you're a homer. I mean, just I want you. You're
okay. The last thing Freddie said was defense.
Right.
The defensive line. They've been getting to quarterbacks, and this is what I like about it. It's just not one team. It's a bunch of teams. They're getting to where they need to be. They're all clicking together. I don't know if I know that they're on the same page as far as coverage is concerned. So their defense is probably going to even definitely if they score any points, Washington's going to take it. So
I've got Washington winning that. It's the first one all three of us picked, and only because not so much of Washington, but I think Freddie's Fool's goal is going to show itself. The number of 1 or 2 point wins that team has is staggering. I don't have a number in front of me, but I mean they are just getting by.
Like 8 or 9.
Yeah, it's significant. So Washington can win that one, and that would be to me a decent upset for Washington, a 7-2. JR, you got your New York Giants will be going to San Francisco. Keep in mind, San Francisco is now playing with a young rookie quarterback. But as of the time that we're taping, I mean they're 10-4. Can the New York Football Giants go into San Francisco and win that game?
Yes, I think they can, and I think it's the same thing as with Minnesota. If your defense can get to the quarterback, which they have been doing as well, they could spook the young guy. Not that the Giants are great, but they get to the ball.
Freddie, the San Francisco Giants are going to be hosting San Francisco Giants. I'm talking baseball. The San Francisco 49ers are going to be hosting New York Giants. Can they hold up and get a W there?
I would go with the 49ers for the simple fact their front seven is ferocious. They literally have the best front seven in the NFL.
I do agree with Freddie. I think the one thing that what's the coach's name? Shanahan.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think he's an offensive mind. And I think that he'll put the kid in position. And I just think San Francisco's defense is so much stronger than New York's offense. I think they win that game. JR, again, if the playoffs started today, the last of the NFC rounds would have the Dallas Cowboys going to Tampa. Believe it or not, team with the better record would be going to the team that is so far away from 500. They have to get some binoculars to see it. Who wins that game for you, JR, Dallas or Tampa Bay?
I'm sorry to say Dallas.
Freddie, I know Tampa's your team. Can they play two halves? The book on them seems to be that their first half has been a little bit better than the second of late.
If Tampa wins the division and they're not above 500, they do not deserve to host a home playoff game. I get it. That's the rule. That is the format. But if they're 8-9 or whatever, and they win their division, they do not deserve to host a home playoff. Now, to that point, can Tampa win? Yes, because they've done it before. They've done it before to the same exact team. Mind you, I think Tampa, I think they'll turn it on and it will be at home. Dallas has looked awful on the road. I mean, we just saw what happened in Jacksonville this past Sunday. So I think Tampa can do it.
I would say that I think Tampa would do it if that ends up being the game. One, because they seem to find a way at critical moments, even though I agree with Freddie 100%. The fact that they're in the playoffs bothers me. The fact that they're hosting a game with a sub 500 record, something's got to change with that. But I think the other reason here, JR, is that thankfully, from where I sit anyway, Dallas is notoriously bad in the playoffs. No matter how good their regular season record is, they seem to get there and choke. I'm counting on that choke factor because, I just don't like them. So that would be what the playoff picture is like if it were to happen this weekend. I'm sure that something's going to change, especially for one of these bottom feeder teams. And once the playoffs are locked, we'll come back and do that. Before we wrap, though, there was some interesting stuff in the NFL we were talking about a little bit on there. I want to capture some quick thoughts from the guys. One of them, and I don't know if you guys know this phrase, but my guy Scott Van Pelt coined it, and it's called Pitchy Pitchy Woo Woo. And whenever Scott says Pitchy Pitchy Woo, that's normally the play that a team will run when there's no time on the clock and you see the guy doing all this crazy lateral shit. So my question for you guys is, why was New England running Pitchy Pitchy Woo Woo in a game that they didn't have to run Pitchy Pitchy Woo Woo and got the ball to Belichick's pupils team? And the most important thing that I can take away from that whole play is watching Jones on Jones, watching that. So you guys saw the play. What are your thoughts on that?
They didn't have to run. This a lack of football IQ. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
I mean,
but hang on. Let me pivot to Freddie. Freddie, you coached this game.
You risk the injury of people getting injured for no reason.
Is this the equivalent of Chris Webber years ago not knowing that he couldn't call a timeout? In other words, why even turn to throw that ball? It's a tie game at this point.
I don't think it's the equivalent to Chris Webber, because I think Chris Webber may have panicked and whatever the case may be. And if you don't score, okay, we go into overtime. Guess what? The Vegas' offense has not been a juggernaut anyway. Nope. So I'm just like, why would you do that? I'm trying to think of the most boneheaded play that could be relayed to. The players went rogue. They said they did their own thing. They said that. They said, we did our own thing. We improv, to add insult to injury is when your quarterback got absolutely mushed.
He got trounced. There was some questionable calls and no calls, right, in the Giants Commanders game on Sunday. Should officials, referees be held accountable when we talk about the pass interference, which was, I use the term egregious because the guy was assaulted all the way across the line, no flag, could have made a difference. You're in a goal-to-go situation. And then another call where a flag was thrown against Terry McLaurin for saying that he wasn't on the line. Should they be held accountable, or do we just write it off?
No, they should be held accountable. For you to lose a game on a non-call or a bad call, I think Freddie mentioned when we was talking earlier, that's not cool. It has playoff implications. And now maybe one team won't make it because you guys decided not to make a call.
What is on Samuels? That was a pass interference. That was a bad call with the McLaren.
I think that the officials should be held accountable. I know that these games, all this stuff gets reviewed after the fact. And to me, I think the way you hit the official is in the pocket. I think they're professionals. I think they go through a lot of training, as the players do. And for the most part, I don't have any beef with them. I'm the guy that says, I don't want to be the one that says we lost the game because of officiating. But to have those two calls against the same team, or in one case, not against, but it should have been, there's no excuse for that. And I think until you start holding the officials accountable at a level that hits them in the pocket, maybe even so much as a game suspension or something, there needs to be a penalty associated when the entire world looks at that and says, the back judge. He was holding this man that ran right across in front of you. You threw nothing. And technically, the side judge should have gotten that one as too. So we're going to make that our question of the week. Should the officials be held accountable? Pure and simple for bad decisions made, especially in a case where it alters the outcome of a game. As always, you can get us on Twitter at 15 Good Minutes or right here at youtube.com/15 Good Minutes. So Christmas weekend, JR, you got any Christmas wishes for our audience as we check out?
Yeah, I just wish everybody a healthy and happy holiday.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers beat the Arizona Cardinals this week. That's what I'm hoping for.
Two bad teams, and I'm gonna ride with JR and say, hope everybody has a happy, safe, blessed Merry Christmas. We will get back with you guys next week between Christmas and New Year's. Until then, stay safe. We're out.
Feliz Navidad.